So the first book that we're going to read is called She-shi-etko by Nicole L. Campbell and pictures by Kim Lefebvre. One, two, three, four. Mornings left until I go to school, said She-shi-etko as she watched sunlight dance butterfly steps across her mother's sleeping face. When streams of light sent shadows across her mother's cheeks, she said, "Mom, wake up! It's time for us to bathe down by the creek." Her mother blinked. "You woke early today, She-shi-etko," she said, swinging her feet to the floor. With the first steps of sunrise, She-shi-etko skipped along the worn path through the cottonwood trees all the way down to the creek. "My girl, we will not see each other until the wild roses bloom in the spring and the salmon have returned to our river. I want you to remember the ways of our people. I want you to remember our songs and our dances, our laughter and our joy. And I want you to remember our land." Then her mother began to sing. Her voice traveled from tree to tree, flowing through the valley, caught by the wind, carrying on the wings of eagles in flight. She-shi-etko could not help herself. She looked at everything, tall grass swaying to the rhythm of the breeze, determined mosquitoes, working bumblebees. She memorized each shiny rock, the sand beneath her feet, crayfish and minnows and tadpoles that squirmed between her toes at the bottom of the creek. They were almost home when cousin aunties and uncles and the rhythm tap of Yaya's old cedar cane could be heard through the trees. "Mother! Father! They're here!" She-shi-etko ran to greet her family. Sunlight, wood smoke, and scents of barbecue sockeye salmon filled the air. Dishes clattering, footsteps pitter-pattering, and laughter echoed from tree to tree. Afterwards, in the late night silence, tucked safely under Yaya's patchwork quilt, She-shi-etko counted her fingers. There are only 1, 2, 3 more sleeps until I go to school. In the morning, when She-shi-etko woke, the sky was changing, navy to brilliant blue. They lay listening to the cool autumn breeze, singing morning songs, soft drum heartbeats. "Let's take the canoe out on the lake," said her father. Hand in hand, they walked along the creek all the way down to the lake. "My girl, these are the things you must always remember," he said, going to the trees, mountains, and waters around them. Together they picked up the canoe and carried it to the water's edge. With yellow cedar paddles, they strolled across smooth water, reaching and dipping, pulling back, and the only sound they heard were the whistling birds and their paddlings breaking the surface of the lake, surrounding them with ripples. Her father sang the paddle song that her grandfather used to sing. His voice traveled across the water, a chant that kept their pace. She-shi-etko could not help herself. She looked at everything. She tasted the rain that fell on her face. She listened as the water washed every rocky beach, and when eagle's song echoed through the valley, traveling just beyond reach. She sang her grandfather's paddle song, and their voices echoed from beach to beach. In the day of sunlight, She-shi-etko and her father returned to pack their things. Finally, in the silence of the night, belly full, huddled safely under Yaya's patchwork quilt, She-shi-etko counted her fingers. 1, 2. Only 2 more sleeps. then fell into a water-exhausted sleep. She-shi-etko was dreaming when she heard her yaya say, "She-shi-etko, wake up, my girl! We have some things to do today." Yaya gave her a small bag made from soft, tan deer hide and sinewy. "This, my girl, is a bag for you to keep all your memories, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. Remember to keep them safe." When the sun wasn't up yet, when they walked out the door and into the trees, the path was dark and smelled alive, with rain, wet soil, and leaves. They walked until the sun was shining. Yaya brought her visit a great big fir tree, and She-shi-etko placed a spring into her bag of memories. They visited hemlock, a cedar, even a pine, and each time she placed a spring in her bag of memories. They went to visit silver willows, red willows, sage bushes, cottonwood, Labrador bushes, and even kikimitik. They visited blueberries, salmonberries, Saskatoon, chuckleberry bushes, and they found bitterroot, wild potato, wild celery patches. On and on they went through fields of wild roses, Italian paintbrushes, fireweed, and columbine. She-shi-etko promised herself, "I will remember everything." Each plant they came to, she listened carefully to its name. They asked once, twice, even 3 times, "Is it food or medicine, Yaya?" "It is always safe." Then whispered its name. She placed dried berries, roots, flowers, and fragrant leaves in her bag. That night, when She-shi-etko crawled under her patchwork quilt, she counted her fingers and said, "1 more sleep." At home, the cattle truck that gathered children waited She-shi-etko to pick her up her bag of memories, a pitch of tobacco for offering, and then went out to the back door to her favorite place. Beneath a great big fir tree, she placed the tobacco at its base, then tucked her bag inside its roots. "Dear grandfather tree, please keep my memories and my family safe. I will be home in the spring." She-shi-etko, come inside now. It's time for you to go. When they rattled down the dirt road and into the trees, She-shi-etko held a spring of fir close to her heart. She-shi-etko could not help herself. She looked at everything, the tall grass swaying to the rhythm of the breeze, determined mosquitoes, working bumblebees, and she memorized each shiny rock and sand beneath her feet, crayfish and minnows and tadpoles that squirmed between her toes, all at the bottom of the creek.
So the story I want to read to you today is When We Were Alone. This is by David A. Robertson and Julie Fillett. The cool thing about this book is that it's actually a Braille version. So you may see some sheets that look like this. They have QR codes. This is one of the versions offered at the Red Deer Public Library. So a little bit about this story is that when a young girl helps tend to her grandmother's garden, she begins to notice things that make her curious. Why does grandmother have long braided hair and beautifully colored clothing? Why does she speak another language and spend so much time with her family? As she asks her grandma about these things, she is told about the life in a residential school long ago, when all of these things were taken away. When We Were Alone is a story of a difficult time in history, and ultimately one of empowerment and strength. All right. So When We Were Alone. Today, I helped my kokum in her flower garden. She always wears her colorful clothes. It's like she dresses in rainbows. When she is bent down to prune some of the flowers, I couldn't even see her because she blended in with them. She was like a chameleon. "Nokum, why do you wear so many colors?" I asked. Nokum said, "Well, nosism." Nokum means grandmother. Nosism means grandchild. When I was your age, at home in my community, my friends and I wore so many different colors, but at the school I went to, far away from home. They gave us different clothes to wear. All the children were dressed the same, and all our clothes weren't colorful at all. We were mixed together like storm clouds. Why did you have to dress like that? I asked. They didn't like that we wore such beautiful colors, Nokum said. They wanted us to look like everybody else. But sometimes in the fall, when we were alone and the leaves had turned their warm autumn hues, we would roll around in the ground. We would pile the leaves over the clothes they had given us, and we would be colorful again. And this made us happy. Now, Nokum said, I always wear the most beautiful colors. After I helped with the flowers, we went over to the back gate. There were vines covering the gate, and they reached all the way to the ground. When my kokum turned to fix the latch, I saw that her braid hung almost as low as the vines. It was like she had a tail. Nokum, why do you wear your hair so long? I asked. Nokum said, well, no system. When I was your age, at home in my community, my friends and I grew our hair long, just like our people have always done. It made us feel strong and proud. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they cut off all our hair. Our strands of hair mixed together on the ground like blades of dead grass. Why did you have to wear your hair like that? I asked. They didn't like that we were proud, Nokum said. They wanted us to be like everybody else. But sometimes in the spring, when we were alone and the grass had grown so long and thick in the field, we would pick the blades from the ground. We would braid them into our short hair they had given us, and we would have long hair again. And this made us happy. Now, Nokum said, I always wear my hair very long. After my kokum had fixed the latch, I followed her to the birdhouse. There was a bird flying through the air like a jingle dress dancer. She fed the bird and whispered, Na, pina yisif, misiko, ta misi kitiyin, ta maski isiyin. And her words sounded just like a poem. Nokum, why do you speak in Cree? I asked. Nokum said, well, no system. This here says, here little bird, eat so that you get big and strong. When I was your age at home in my community, my friends and I always spoke our language. But at the school we went to, far away from home, they wouldn't let us speak our words. All the children used their strange words, and we didn't understand them at all. Our voices blended together like a flock of crows. Why did you have to talk in their language? I asked. They didn't like that we spoke our language, Nokum said. They wanted us to talk like everybody else. But sometimes in the summer, when we were alone and our teachers weren't anywhere around the place we were, we would whisper to each other in Cree. We would say all the words that we weren't allowed to say, so that we wouldn't forget them, and this made us happy. Now, Nokum said, I always speak my language. After our gardening work was done, I sat with my kokum in the backyard. Her brother came over and sat with us. He comes over all the time. We drank tea and ate bannock. The tea was hot and sweet, and the bannock was moist and warm and melted in my mouth. My kokum and my uncle talked and laughed like children. Nokum, why do you and Nokomis always spend time together? I asked. Nokum said, well, no system. When we were your age, at home in our community, being with family was the most important thing. We played with each other, did chores together, and shared everything. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they wouldn't let us be together. My brother and I were separated.